WGEN News at 10, the Tri-State's news leader.
Quincy is searching for its future. There's been a lot of talk over the last year about a $100 million long-term plan that would shape parts of the Gem City over the next 20 years.
That's right. The city could vote on the final plan on this next month. We're digging deeper into this tonight. We visited a neighbor to our north for some direction, and also local residents weigh in on what they want to see, plus some concerns. In the dead of winter, when it's this cold, Rick Shover warms up with a cup of coffee at Electric Fountain Brewing Company, a fairly new downtown Quincy business.
It's like a big city coffee shop.
Ryan Christian owns the business.
There's lots of people on board trying to make the downtown an awesome place, which it is an awesome place, but I think it needs more businesses, more younger people coming in and trying to do things to kind of create some excitement down here.
Downtown revitalization, like streetscaping, is one part of Quincy's strategic plan.
Quincy hasn't grown for over 70 years. We've been about 40,000 people. That's not going to work.
In an online survey, the community told consultants the city hired that downtown and riverfront have unmet potential. Plan Commissioner Rick Smith agrees, but thinks the strategic plan doesn't focus enough on the city's growing East End, where an interstate, open land, and retail business intersect.
Your heart will always take you to downtown Quincy, to the riverfront, to the historic aspects of the community. But your head should take you to your growth, because that's where the money comes from to pay for fixing up the old things.
We are including strategic initiatives for those areas. When we look at a bike and pedestrian pathway, that's an entire community area that we want to focus on.
The consultants say look outside Quincy for the answers, including another tri-state river town where Illinois, Wisconsin, and Iowa meet. The city of Dubuque, Iowa.
Dubuque is similarly sized to Quincy. What jumped out was since 2001, job growth in Dubuque has actually exceeded the national average.
But long before Dubuque was an award-winning Rust Belt success story, this hot city suffered a chilling low after the farm crisis in the 1980s.
We had the highest unemployment rate in the country at 24%.
And the tagline in Dubuque was, "Last one out of Dubuque, turn out the lights."
People left in droves. This is what the riverfront looked like.
Mountains of sawdust, dilapidated buildings, abandoned bulk tanks.
By the early 90s, new elected officials hired new talent with a new vision, a long-term reinvestment plan. By the early 2000s, with help from a $40 million state grant, a big turnaround on the riverfront. Today, there's a Mississippi Riverwalk, casino, National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, and a Grand River Convention Center, just to name a few. Here's a look from the air with the snow melted. More than $400 million in investments over more than a decade, 4 times the proposed cost of Quincy's strategic plan. But it paid off big time.
IT has come to Dubuque in a big way with IBM coming in 2009. And we went from about 37,000 people at the low point in 1984 to today there's over 60,000 people working in the metropolitan statistical area of Dubuque.
This is somewhat unique because there aren't a lot of cities the size of Quincy or Dubuque that are growing at that rate. Most job growth is occurring in larger metro areas.
But how did Dubuque pay for all the investments?
It was about planning, partnerships, and people.
The short answer is a combination of public and private funds.
Dubuque also took on debt. Taxes played a role too, but city leaders say a lot of that money has been paid back. To Maggie Strong, it's inspiration for Quincy.
It is going to be a big investment, but it doesn't have to happen overnight. And some of that money we hope will come from private investment.
So, Gene, how would Quincy pay for these long-term improvements?
There's been a few things that they've talked about here. A sales tax that maybe could be dedicated to riverfront development, also downtown revitalization. There's also been talk about maybe a food and beverage tax, and then not necessarily spending more, but maybe adjusting how money from our hotel motel tax gets distributed. But you have to keep this in mind. All this could change because they haven't approved a final plan for this.
Okay, interesting. You've got more on this tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we actually talked more about some of the folks from Dubuque. We're going to hear more from them, specifically about the city and private partnership, that public-private partnership that you heard there in the story. They say that can be key to success, and you're going to hear more about that and how it paid off for Dubuque coming up tomorrow on Today. That's from 5:30 until 7.